on Saturday, September 23rd from 2 to 8 p.m. at the Alkaline Oasis in Brooklyn. Baba Ashraf Kwesi and Mira Kwesi returns to Brooklyn, New York after 4 years. Get your early bird tickets right now by texting 347-496-1022. Remember, they'll be teaching about the ancient history of Africa, Kemet, and also they're going to touch on Cleopatra. So get your tickets, 347-496-1022. Content disclaimer. The views, comments, and opinions expressed by guest speakers or authors on this YouTube channel do not necessarily reflect or represent the views and opinions held by this channel's broadcasters and its sponsors. Parental guidance is advised. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comments, news reporting, teachers, scholarship, education, and research. For fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringed. Lift up your heads and hold them up high. We know that we'll win the prize. Lift up your heads and hold them up high. We know that we win the prize. Time's getting harder, but we're striving for better. What's up, family? How you doing? Big up to the great Everton Blender for singing that song. Those who don't know, it's a good reggae song to listen to. It's a very motivational song. Today is September 22nd. 2023, and when you add the month on top of the day on top of the year, it adds up to 2054. 2 plus 0 plus 5 plus 4 equals 11. So today is a universal 11 day when you add it up in the old method of using math and adding. It adds up to a number 11. Now, if you add it across, 9 plus 20, 9 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 3, it adds up to 20, which is also a very significant number. That's why when I do my numerovational sessions and consultation and advisory sessions, I look at all of the different or at least 2 of the different methods of adding. The older way is when you add the month on top of the day on top of the year. That's a vertical way of doing it. Then I will also add a cross. One is horizontal, one is vertical, one is horizontal. So, because depending on how you add the numbers, it can come out with 2 different equations, but yet give you 2 different forms of guidance. So when I added the month on top of the day, on top of the year, today would be 11 universal day, an 11 personal number for someone born today. It's be a personal cycle, which would be a very spiritually enlightened cycle as a matter of own or popular methods that a numerologist will use or should use. Let me not say will use it, because not all numerologists use it. Some numerologists will add a cross and then they'll get that. Some numerologists will take, let's say, the number 19. If it was September the 19th, 2023, they will just take the 19, they'll break it down to 1. Then they'll take the year, break it down to 7, and add that up. So people have their different methods of doing the numbers. I tend to use the old method, and then I tend to use the newer method, so I can get a bigger and broader picture for people when I am doing a consultation session and an advisory session through numbers. Because I do not, and I have to repeat that, I do not read people. I read children because they don't know any better. And usually when a parent books a session with me, a 30-minute session with me, then if they have children that are younger than 16 or 16 and younger, then I will give them a basic guidance through through the child's number, not their name, just their number, until that child really is ready. And some children, I've had parents pay for a 16-year-old who they deemed ready to receive this information, because our children are much astute in certain things. They're still children, and I always tell people to let children be children and see what they gravitate to naturally. You want to make sure you see what they're gravitating to naturally. If they're gravitating to building by using Legos and all that type of stuff, then guide them towards architectural design and being a builder. You see them gravitating to computers from an early age, then guide them to tech, the tech world, the IT world. You see them gravitating to playing ball or whatever, guide them. But always, when it comes to sports now, because sports can be very volatile. And children and people can get hurt playing sports. You always have to make sure, let them enjoy the sport, yes, to give them activities, but always encourage them to understand the business side of every sport, because the business side of every sport is where really the money is being made. I remember explaining to a young man about playing ball and then the general manager. Now, if a ball player or a sports player is playing playing football or basketball, think on this level. If I'm the general manager and I make 10, if I make 20% or 10% or 5% off of every team member, think about that. Managers make money. Once you have that manager behind it, the general manager, once you have manager behind any name, you're supposed to make some money from, like when you have artist ministry and managing people and managing artists. I tried that one time to try to manage artists. You make either 20 or 10% depending on the deal, or 5%. So I was explaining to the young brother that if you're making $2 million and off of that $2 million, the manager or the general manager gets 10%, But imagine how many team members is on that team, and the general manager is making 5%, 10%, or 20% of everybody on that team. Who's really making the money with ease? Who's really making the money with ease without stressing their legs, without... Now, I know you like playing ball. I know you like enjoying the sports. But someone is making the money with ease without going on that field, like a gladiator sport. The king or the emperor at that time was making all the glory, getting all the glory and all the money, because there was commerce going on and you had to exchange things. So just saying something that about children and letting them be themselves. Letting them, I tell people, do not force numerology or astrology on people. Don't do that. Don't force my services on people. Let them watch me a few times, see if I make sense to their spirit and to their spiritual journey. Thus, today's lessons, today's topic is embracing the spiritual waves of enlightenment during the different crossroads in your life. Embracing the spiritual waves of enlightenment during the different crossroads of your life. If you've been listening to me, and I'm taking my time, you see, I'm not rushing. If you've been listening to me for a certain amount of years, which many of you have, and you share my video, thank you. Crossroads is two words put together, crossroad. And it means exactly what it says. Cross the road, especially at certain points of your life that you have to make certain decisions, whether it's spiritual, whether it's physical, whether it's mental, whether it's a healthy crossroad, looking at your health. Paying attention to those different crossroads in your life are very important. Every year can be considered a crossroad, but in certain systems of numbers and the science of numbers and its application of patterns, sequences, and cycles, there are probably 3 major crossroads. 3 major crossroads, but one of the primary ones that we look at is during the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, and the 7th year. Those are, because that's a more extended crossroad. Because when you get to your 4th personal year, that starts rebuilding in some sort, a restructuring, a reorganizing of some sort. So when you're in your 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th personal cycle, those are considered a major crossroad. And then you go into your 8 and 9 cycle, which deals with another form of the crossroad, but it deals with being accountable of what you allow in and what you're willing to leave. Recognizing assets and liabilities, and then removing the liabilities within the 8th and 9th year crossroad and 9th year cycle. Personal cycle, personal months, personal days. It keeps on coming back, but you're spiraling up. You're trying to spiral to a higher level and not stay in a hamster wheel. Another crossroad after 8 and 9 is 1, 2, and 3. That would be called, from my perspective, an expansive crossroad, because the number 1 is the new beginning, new business, new cycles. Then number 2 is the partnership and the compassion you put behind it. And number 3 is the expansive, after you've done what you recognize what is new that you want to do, and you're compassionate and your partnership about it, your partner in your mind and your heart with it. And now the 3 is about expanding. And by the time you get to your crossroads of the number 4, then your building blocks are building and you continue to build. So there's a story that's being told during each crossroad if you are willing to cross the road in a higher level, a higher understanding for a higher accomplishment. So embracing the spiritual ways of enlightenment during the different crossroads in your life is very important to pay attention to. Very important, because there are cycles, there are patterns, and these crossroads come through your life all the time. They not just come through your life in a yearly fashion, it comes through your life in a monthly fashion. It comes through your life in a daily fashion. It can come through your life as a hourly fashion. So embracing the spiritual ways of enlightenment, you have to be a little bit more in tune with what's happening within yourself, because it's an energetic spiritual wave that you're recognizing within yourself. You're starting to think different, feel different, eat different, do certain things different. That's up to you, but everything is your journey. It's not my journey. My journey has been a promoter since I was 12 years of age. And people, I embrace my spiritual wave of being a promoter of knowledge and consciousness and enlightenment. I've embraced that because back in the day when I was younger, I was into the parties. And that was spiritual in a sense, but it was aimless, because we just wanted to party and bullcrap and party and bullcrap. That's what we wanted to do. 12 years old, I've been partying. And like I've told people on my live before, I was born in a nightclub. So don't get angry at me for being a good promoter and doing what I do. I've been doing this since I was a baby. I've been watching it and been around it since I was a baby. So I tell people I'm a promoter, not an investigator. I'm a promoter and not an investigator, but that's a whole nother story. That's a whole nother point I'm going to touch on at another time, because I've promoted almost everybody in the community. And some has risen to higher heights, some have fallen to lower heights. I've spoken about that on other platforms, but I will break down the difference of being good at what you do. And that you're so good, people can't blame you for it. They got to give you respect, because this brother, if you're good at what you do, you get paid. And I'm telling all of you out there, if you're good at what you do, whether it's spiritual work, whether it's physical work, whether it's mental work, whether it's healthy work, whatever you do, make sure you get some circulation from it. And because money is currency, you have to make sure you get respectable currency for whatever you do out there. Very important. So the crossroads, I'm in another crossroads of my life again. And like I said, we go through these different forms of crossroads from 1 to 3. From the 1 year personal cycle, 2 year personal cycle, 3 year personal cycle. That would be the expansive cycle. That's because you're dealing with new beginning and supposed to expand in it. From 4 all the way to 7 year, that is a crossroad of rebuilding, changing, growth, family, moving. All of that is involved with that crossroad. Promoting yourself and promoting what you're building is also a part of that 4, 5, 6, and 7 crossroad. Spiritual enlightenment or law of attraction is also part of that last crossroads of the number 7 energy. And 8 and 9 is more being aware and accountable for what energies you let in your life and what energies you're willing to release, because that deals with assets and liability, keeping the assets and removing the liability. If they are a liability in your life, I don't care if they're your children, you got to let them go. Sometimes you got to let them fly for themselves. If they get locked up or doing something crazy that you just don't agree with, that is their life until they figure it out. You taught them the best you can. The mothers of my children and I have taught them the best they can. You know, like I've said before, I wasn't the best father because I was chasing entertainment and I didn't incorporate them a part of it. And they would have all done well in being part of that kind of business. But, you know, when you're in that club life and that mad life, it's crazy. And that was a part of my crossroads also. And I made a decision to do that. That was a crossroad. You're going to be met with decisions during your crossroads. So embracing the spiritual waves of enlightenment during these different crossroads, it entails you to silence the mind, listen to the heart, close your eyes, and go within yourself with intent. We have to go within ourselves with intentions, with great intent to bring something wonderful out of our spirits. Because all of us have talent. All of us have gifts. All of us have skills. And your name and your birthday gives you an inkling of what it is and a tip of the iceberg of what it is through numbers and through, you might deal with astrology or cardiology. They give you what you may need, but some people run away from what they're supposed to do. Thus, Bob Marley would say, you're running and you're running and you're running away, but you can't run away from yourself. Bob Marley sang that song. You're running and you're running and you're running away, but you can't run away from yourself. You can't run away from yourself. You can't run away from truly who you are. So if you was meant to be a whole ass or asshole in this realm, you ain't running away from that until you learn to clean that asshole and take that asshole on a cleaner journey. Because where the mind goes, the behind goes. When the mind is enlightened, the behind is enlightened. That might sound funny to most people. Teddy Pendergrass said in his song, two different genres saying it two different ways, but it means the same thing. You can't hide from yourself. Anywhere you go, there you are. You can't hide from who you are. I don't care if you try to hide in the darkest room, in the darkest universe, in the darkest corner of this earth. You cannot hide from who you are. So embracing the spiritual waves of enlightenment. Enlightenment deals with inner you, the inner energy of who and what you are and what you can be. And when you're going through crossroads, and like I said, there's three major crossroads that all of us go through constantly. Whether it deals with relationship, whether it deals with friendship, whether it deals with bullshit. There's different crossroads, and all of that can be coming up and showing itself. But if you embrace the spiritual waves of enlightenment through your meditation, through your affirmation, through your prayers, through your thought patterns, and make sure the spiritual profound light shines from you, then there's nothing you can't accomplish. It doesn't matter about the money. The energy of money will come as long as you're willing to allow the energy to embrace you and ride the waves of it. You got to ride the waves of it, because some of us drown. I went to the beach yesterday with my son's mother, because we went to visit her father, and so we drove to the beach. After that, her father's in an old folks' home, and he wanted to see me, and I made sure. I told her over the phone when I was in Georgia and said, if he's dreaming about me and thinking about me, I need to come and see him. And he always knew that I loved to ride my bicycle. And he talking about a bicycle. He kept on talking about this bicycle. So spiritually, to me, when you're dealing with the bicycle, because it's dealing with two wheels of motion here. Spiritually, to me, I've started embracing it after I left him and we went to the beach. It was, although we was joking about it, and he, he's an older guy and he's going into his 90s and is older, and it didn't make too much sense. The word bicycle came up in my mind, and when you look at that spiritual meaning of bicycle, it represents moving on two cycles, because it's bicycle he was talking about. So you're moving in and out of two cycles, and sometimes you're transiting between two cycles, which I am doing. I just transited out of a 9-year cycle into a 1-year cycle this year and going into another cycle. So that bicycle was reminiscent of me transiting out of two cycles. That's my son's grandfather. And the woman I dealt with my last son, that's her father, who really loved and respected me. Dreaming about me and a bicycle. And he knew I used to love to ride bicycles. And he wanted to talk to me about it. I think he's suffering from a little dementia, but it's, I was getting the gist of the message. Because sometimes because we're not embracing in the spiritual waves of enlightenment, we miss the message. We take it as a joke. And yeah, me and his daughter was laughing and joking about it and all the things that he was saying. But she don't know, in my mind, I was thinking, I was rolling around and I was molding it with my heart, molding it in my heart. Why is he dreaming about me taking a bicycle belonging to his daughter? Or no, not taking, borrowing a bicycle belonging to his daughter, because there's a cycle I'm going into an 11-year personal cycle next year in 2024. And that's deals with a spiritual enlightenment. I'm starting to feel the effects of it in September, October, November. Like I've said, and Lloyd have said, these are the sneak peek months of what's to come. So I'm paying attention to what people are saying, paying attention to what people are putting out there about me. And, some of it is crazy, because of the incident that happened with being a promoter of Brother Polite, that kind of stuff. But they don't understand that I was paid to promote. When people, when producers, when people that want to share their work and want the groundwork done, they pay you. So of course I'm going to make money. You know what I'm saying? Because that was my livelihood. That is what I did the best. People know me in the reggae world, the calypso world. I've worked for Jews. I've worked for Italians. I've worked in the music business. I was a promoter also. So I tell people, don't get angry for me for being somebody who know how to promote. Because I'm not an investigator. Like I said, I'm going to talk about that one day, about promotion and investigating. I'm a promoter, not an investigator. But now, when things are going down like that, I got to spiritually connect and say, I got to investigate people that I'm going to start promoting more now. That's why I don't just jump on any more platforms with people anymore. I don't do that. Because every young person that was brought to me by elders, like a Polite, an elder brought them to me, 2 elders. One is dead, so I won't mention his name, but the other one is alive, and that's Dr. York's brother, brought him to me and told me about him. And I said, okay, I'll promote him. And then, he said it to me first, and then the other one that Polite used to live with, and this is all a part of what I'm saying here. The other one that Polite used to live with, he came to me as a respected reverend of a church. And I knew that he was a good dude. Before he transitioned, I knew he was a good dude. And I said, all right, I'll give him a chance. And that's when Polite started opening up for lectures with Dr. Sabi. I first put Polite on November the 14th, 2009. All a part of embracing the spiritual wave of enlightenment. This is all a part of what I'm saying. But I'm going to go into that one day about promoter and investigator, and why now we have to become both, because there's artists out there that I've promoted. I didn't know they were going to do something crazy, or they did something crazy. I don't know their life behind the scenes. I never know their life. I don't spend time or sleep in their beds. I don't know that. So I tell people, don't blame me for that. People pay me. They call me and say, King, I need to put out 5,000 to 10,000 flyers. I can put out 5,000 to 10,000 flyers per week or within a 2-week interval. And that's a lot of flyers. It's a lot of flyers. Me and my team used to put out 100,000 to 200,000 flyers. Sometimes 500,000 flyers on the streets of New York, New Jersey, Connecticut. We had to do this because we were promoters. But embracing the spiritual wave, I don't want to go down that road yet. Embracing the spiritual wave of enlightenment during your crossroads of your life allows you to look at the people around you, look at the family members around you, look at the job people around you, look at your inner self, look at the food and the places that you're hanging around and people that you're hanging around. Really reevaluating. You got to reevaluate yourself if you want to embrace the spiritual ways of enlightenment, especially during your crossroads in your life. And those that just came on, the crossroads, different types of crossroads, according to the study of numbers, come around 3 times. So every year there's a cycle that you're going through, that I'm going through, that the world is going through, that this, according to the mathematics. And just because we're under the Gregorian calendar and we're not under the Ethiopian calendar, if you're living in Ethiopia, then go under the Ethiopian calendar. If you're living in China, then go under the Chinese calendar. If you're living in Judea, then you go under the Jewish calendar. You're here in America, or you're acknowledging 2023 in this realm for your jobs and all that, then you have to go with the vibration of this time. Content disclaimer: the views, comments, and opinions expressed by guest speakers or authors on this YouTube channel do not necessarily reflect or represent the views and opinions held by this channel's broadcasters and its sponsors. Parental guidance is advised. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comments, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. For fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringed. On Saturday, September 23rd from 2 to 8 p.m. at the Alkaline Oasis in Brooklyn, Baba Ashraf Kwesi and Mira Kwesi returns to Brooklyn, New York after 4 years. Get your early bird tickets right now by texting 347-496-1022. Remember, they'll be teaching about the ancient history of Africa, Kemet, and also they're going to touch on Cleopatra. So get your tickets, 347-496-1022.
Let's go.
Did you ever wonder if your birth date holds information about your destiny? Why you keep seeing the same number or several numbers? Welcome to Numbers Are Simple, People Are Complicated. I am your host, King Simon. Numbers are not here to control you, they're here to give you guidance. It's time for you to be able to read the numbers. It's the numerational session with King Simon. Text your full name and date of birth to 347-496-1022. That's 347-496-1022. And get my books on Amazon now. Hey, this is King Simon. Remember, make sure you go to my website, kingsimonproductions.wordpress.com. That's kingsimonproductions.wordpress.com or Linktree at King Simon the Numeral-Vasa. Get all 4 of my books, and of course, that's the Numeral-Vasa for mental stability. Numbers are simple, people are complicated. Numbers are simple, children's health is important, and no promotion is bad promotion. Just spell my name right. Make sure you get them now on all my links. That's kingsimonproductions.wordpress.com. Go now. So remember, our job as studiers of these metaphysical, esoteric knowledge is to help enhance people to be better. I, as a numerator, using the numbers, or quote-unquote numerals, and motivation to get people to understand why they need to activate their numbers to be their very best self and maximize it. Because the numerals hold a frequency. And if you're willing to turn up that frequency, then that frequency can help to guide you and navigate you to a higher height that will allow you to spiral to be your best self. Must remember that.
Affirmations can have an electrifying effect on all of us. Coming up soon is the affirmation of the numbers 1 through 9. Look out for it.